bold, be brave, be extraordinary, be vulnerable, be real, be curious, be true, be you. Welcome to Trusting Your Gut with world-class energy intuitive Catherine McIntosh, a show designed to awaken you to enjoy the process of evolving, have fun along the way, and learn to listen to those silent in-between moments. You are the expert of your own life, and nobody knows more about the next steps to take in your journey than you. So please, listen to your gut and discover what's waiting for you to explore. Here is your host, Catherine McIntosh.
All right, my magical friends. So welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to be here, as I am every week that we get to share time and space together. And, today's topic is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, because what I'm going to talk about literally changed the course of my life. And, I'm kind of an extreme person, and I have had a lot of moments in the course of my journey thus far of moments that changed my life, right? Some of those moments changed my life not for the better. Some of those moments changed my life for the better. And so a couple of years ago, as I was deep in perimenopause, kind of transitioning into menopause, my body completely broke down. And I've been working with the energy of the body for over 20 years, really since I was 15, if I look at it. So over 30 years. Yes, I'm that old. and I've always known that there was some magic to the body. So when I was a little girl, my mother used to complain about her back pains, and she loved laying on the floor, and I would walk on her back, right? And then she started to be like, "Oh, can you heal my shoulder?" And I would look at her body, and I was young, like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I would press in a point that wasn't related to where her pain was, but then the pain would release, and she'd like look behind her and be like, "What did you just do?" And I was like, "Is it better?" She's like, "Yeah, I feel better." And so I've always known that when we use the body as a way to change what's stuck, because the physical body holds trauma, it holds memories, it holds pain, it holds fear, it holds suffering, but it also can hold joy. We just don't always pay attention to the lighter energies that are in our body. But the truth is that in our cores, who we are as a being, as a body, as a spirit, is light, right? We just, through the course of our lives, come up with, survival mechanisms. We come up with ways to make ourselves safe because maybe we didn't feel safe in childhood, even if we had a good childhood. But most people that I encounter, you have some pretty intense trauma in their worlds that happened either early on in their life, midlife, or even later on in life. And then those traumas tend to get stuck in the body. And when we work with the body to release it, that's where the healing can happen. Now, I've been doing energy work and working with clients all over the world for over 20 years. And in the last few years, my work has shifted dramatically by focusing on this one thing that we're going to talk about today. And so a few years ago when I was struggling, or a couple of years ago when I was struggling with perimenopause, with symptoms, I'd gained a bunch of weight. I was lethargic. There's no reason for my weight gain because I was exercising. I was doing all the things I'd done before. But I went, I can't do this anymore, right? I started to get depressed. I started to have anxiety. And that is not me, because I look at the bright side of life in everything, despite my life circumstances. I didn't have the easiest childhood. I didn't have the easiest time in my 20s. I didn't have the easiest time in my 30s, but somehow I always found a way to create magic, to believe in the best in everything, to believe in the power of manifesting, to believe in the power that we have to radically transform our lives and radically heal any dysfunction or dis-ease that's in the body. And so a couple years ago, when I was struggling, nothing was working that I tried. And I kind of tried everything, spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And when I started accidentally, I went back to my somatic roots, so somatic psychology. And in that, in that time that I was in grad school studying somatic psychology, soma is the Latin root word for body. So it's basically the psychology of the body. And I was fascinated by how emotions, how past lifetime traumas can get stuck in our bodies. And so we may be going to therapy, we may be seeing a healer, we may be trying all these different things. But if we don't change it on a cellular level in the physical body, we'll continue repeating the same patterns. We'll continue to feel stuck in certain areas of our lives. And I've been working with a ton of people, doing a lot of sessions every day, and like every session, I'm just like, oh my god, this stuff still works. I'm amazed. And people, they can feel it instantaneously. So when you touch a part of the body that's tense or sore or in pain or feeling stuck, and you just kind of like start to be curious about what's there, the body can release. And so when I went back to my somatic psychology roots, I remember all of the somatic movements that we would do in grad school. So our grad school was I went to Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. And what and when I was there, it was a contemplative university, so we started every class in meditation. We'd quiet the mind, we'd get curious, we'd start to ask the body questions, and then we would do these movements. We also did one-on-one therapy, and I found the one-on-one therapy got me stuck, but it was the movements that started to awaken. And so all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to go back to these somatic movements. And the more I did them, the better I started feeling, the more my anxiety lifted, my depression lifted, my hormones rebalanced. And next thing you know, I'm like 3 months into doing these movements 3 to 4 times a day, or a week, sometimes 5 times a week. And it was 5 or 10 minutes a day. Super easy. Anyone can spend 5 or 10 minutes changing their life, right? And what happened around the 4 month period is all of a sudden the weight totally started to come off quickly. Within 30 days, I'd lost 15 pounds without trying, without exercising, without efforting. I changed my diet to plant-based because I wanted to see if I removed sort of the animal hormones I was ingesting, if that would change my hormones, and if I just ate plants for the most part, right? Plant-based foods. And what happened was quite incredible. And people started commenting, "What are you doing? Oh my God, you must be working out really hard." And I'm like, no, actually, I'm doing the exact opposite I spent my whole life doing. And what was actually occurring on a scientific, on a psychological, and on a physiological level is that these somatic movements, these somatic exercises, were actually healing the parasympathetic nervous system. And I will tell you, a year and a half in, maybe I'm almost going on close to 2 years, the shifts that I'm seeing, not just in my life, but I now teach these classes, and will be, in the future, sort of creating an online program, hopefully live streaming the classes that I teach live in Aspen, and really being able to when we recalibrate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is designed to relax, designed to create a sense of calm. But when we're not calm, so when we have stuck traumas in our body, right? When we have PTSD, when we have memories that trigger us pretty dramatically, right? those memories get stuck, and then the parasympathetic nervous system starts to not fire in a calm and peaceful way. It starts to sort of alert the entire system that it's in fight or flight. And what I realized is that most people, without even realizing it, are functioning from fight or flight. And so if you look at psychology and in relationships, you look at the attachment theory, right? So secure attachment, insecure attachment, avoidant attachment, all of these attachment theories, they're all great to figure out our way of functioning in the world. But I believe that are if we can find a way to regulate the nervous system, and there's other ways to do it besides just, right, somatic exercises. I've just found that somatic exercises are a huge benefit. They're really simple. You don't work out. I mean, it's a workout, but not a workout at all. What you're doing in these movements is you're giving the body, as your nervous system is calming down, the body can then release years of trapped stress, trapped trauma, trapped PTSD, trapped like everything under the sun. And so I want to invite each of you to sort of imagine what it would be like if you could function in your day and you weren't so quick to go to stress. If you could function in your day and you knew that if you relaxed more, you would create more. And so when we begin to do these somatic exercises, they begin to calm the entire system down. The entire system down, right? And when you calm the entire system down, you can stop a lifetime of patterns that you adapted and adopted in order to survive, whether it was your childhood or a trauma or a war zone or, bad relationship after bad relationship, right? Which then creates the insecure or the avoidant attachment, right? There's so many things to this. And when you prioritize rest, when you prioritize peace, when you prioritize rewiring the nervous system so it can do what it's meant to do, which is to relax. And when it's relaxed, the liver and spleen work better. You detox the body better. You're not as quick to react, right? But look, all of us have triggers. All of us have triggers, right? And we go into those triggers and we do the best we can. But the way to stop a trigger is to remove the root of the trigger in the body so the body no longer overreacts to the knee-jerk reaction. And I've talked about this in a lot of different ways. We all can't necessarily prevent ourselves from feeling fear, from being scared, from, judgment. We can't necessarily stop ourselves from getting triggered, but what we can do is to respond and react differently to the initial reaction. And I believe that's where the magic is. There's so many people trying to get rid of their traumas instead of trying to change their relationship to their traumas, because we all have trauma. And it could be very minor trauma. It could be very, very big trauma. But the point is that we do. And so I believe that most of us in our sort of lifelong patterns, we've been reciprocating or kind of replicating these patterns over time just out of a habit of survival, right? And in that patterning, right, is where we get stuck, is where the nervous system rewires to survival. Right? And then we're stuck in this wiring of survival, not recognizing that we could have a totally different choice. And so these patterns get stuck in the muscles, they get stuck in the organs. So in the liver and spleen, particularly, a lot of people have a lot of stuff stuck in their kidneys. They start to protect their heart instead of let the heart, right? So when we recognize that the heart is meant to expand and contract. So as it expands, it sort of lets the good in. As it contracts, it protects, right? And then as it squeezes, because it can expand and contract simultaneously, then that expansion and contraction simultaneously can expel, right? Trapped stuff out of the body. But the body was meant, and we were all meant to be light, to contribute to others, to really just shine in the best way we can. And over time, right, we stop shining. We start trying to fit in. We start trying to please other people, right? People pleasing is a huge thing. And I have a course on it that I might have to rename because nobody wants a course about people pleasing, but everyone wants a course about lighting your life up, right? Having the life of your dreams. But most people don't believe it's possible because the trauma in their body is telling them that they're still in survival mode. And I think that life's too short. I think that we're living in crazy times and so much is occurring all around. But if each of us had the chance to really live lit up, it's not about the dollars in the bank account, although that's fun and creates more, right? It's not about the ideal relationship. It's about a relationship in which you have connection and protection, right? It's about expanding your world to to allow yourself to feel safe enough to let your light shine, right? And so here's the coolest thing. And I was teaching class yesterday. I was talking to class about it. I was like, most people think that inflammation in the body comes from food or comes from alcohol or comes from environmental toxins. And I personally, now remember, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not a licensed psychologist, although I did have training in it. I believe that the number one cause of inflammation in the body is stress. And when people are stressed out, their lymph nodes get taxed, their thyroid gets taxed, right? Their thymus sort of doesn't do its job. The thymus, which is the sort of biggest surfaced area on the chest, is one of the biggest areas of our intuition. Most people refer to either the third eye or our gut, right? Trusting your gut, which is why this radio show is called that. Most people refer to that, but the thymus is not just an intuitive monitor, it's also an energy regulator. And so when I have all my clients kind of tap their heart, cupped hand, so not flat, because that's a different sound. You want to do cupped because it starts to open, and you'll do this and you'll start to feel, oh, something's happening in the kidneys. Oh, maybe it's relaxing the hip flexors, right? Maybe it's allowing more blood flow to move through the body. And so when we do these somatic exercises, what we're effectively doing is we're releasing trapped trauma out of the body. And when you release trapped trauma out of the body, guess what? The nervous system goes, and when the nervous system is relaxed, metabolism improves, digestion improves, intuition improves, clarity improves, right? You start to have more energy. There's all these incredible benefits that can occur when you begin to focus not on what are you eating, not on losing weight, not on, all the things that you try to work hard to do, because that just keeps the nervous system, right, taxed. And when the nervous system's taxed, you might, your body might present in an autoimmune deficiency. You might feel like, you're depressed or lethargic, or you have prone to anxiety, prone to panic attacks, all these things. And the quickest fix is to focus on changing the vibration of your parasympathetic nervous system. There's vagus nerve exercises, there's somatic exercises, there's meditations. You know what? One of the quickest ways to decrease it is to hug a tree, to take your bare feet and put them in the grass, or to lay. My son as a kid, almost on a daily basis, would go outside and just lay down in the grass somewhere. And he would just look up at the sky, close his eyes. And I was like, wow, this kid is different. He's very aware. And so I believe that in this process of healing, whatever it is that you're working on healing, amazing. Keep going. Do whatever you can do that works for you, that makes you feel alive. You want to check in with yourself and look at, is what you're doing expanding your energy? So when you walk out of the therapy office, are you expanded? Are you encouraged? Do you feel inspired? Or are you feeling depressed? I was in therapy, right, from the age of 13, pretty much regularly until the age of 30. And when I did my somatic psychology master's, I was like, I'm actually getting more depressed going to therapy, because I'm always talking about it, but I'm not letting it come out of the body. I'm not letting it release out of the tissues, right? It really messed me up. And I kind of went, I need to go find another way, because this therapy thing isn't working. And so I started on this journey of really connecting back to my sort of intuitive roots, back to my body roots, because I loved to dance. Dancing was a huge healing thing. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that you can do to begin to heal your nervous system. And the best part about this, right, is that you don't have to work hard. This is about getting you in a relaxed state where it actually is easier than you ever imagined. I'm living proof. I'm watching people that are coming regularly to my class. They're dropping weight. They're, changing their relationships. They're feeling more fulfilled in every area of their life. It's quite incredible. And the best part is it's so easy. So stay tuned. We'll talk about some things you can do after the break.
Home Times TV.
Do you trust you? Do you trust your body? What if the key to unlocking the weight, pain, suffering, fear, anxiety, addictions, traumas, and sorrows was already inside of you? Learn to love the skin you are in so you can create the body, business, and life you love. Everyone always says you can't explain what Catherine does, you just have to experience it. From Hollywood actors to New York Times best-selling authors to some of the world's wealthiest and most successful, no two experiences are the same. For private sessions, online courses, live events, and the latest book Jack Canfield calls Game Changer and should be required reading for everyone, go to katherinemcintosh.com. KatherineMcintosh.com.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
All right, my magical friends. So welcome back to the show. I'm so excited. We're talking about why somatic exercises, why somatic movements are, and why actually healing your nervous system is the foundation for not just changing your body, but changing your life. And, so many of us are running around to doctors, to therapists, to, whatever it is to try and get answers. Sometimes the quickest answer is to recognize that you might be in a holding pattern of fight or flight or PTSD or fawn or freeze, right? That is actually keeping your body in survival. And when your body's in survival, it can't rest. So sleep gets challenging, right? Metabolizing food gets challenging. Dealing with loud noises gets challenging. Being able to navigate conflict in a healthy way gets challenging, right? Being, worried about money all the time, challenging. And yet I believe that if we can entrain our bodies to naturally do what they're meant to do, which is to heal themselves, but they can't heal themselves if you're in fight or flight. So we're going to be able to talk about some of the things that you can do, right? To be able to sort of regulate that nervous system and hopefully start to feel, right, that there is like light at the end of the tunnel. Because the truth is, we all deserve a happy life. We deserve a lit up life. We deserve not just to survive, but to thrive, to connect, to create, to enjoy, to bask in, and to celebrate, right? But let's be honest, life isn't always easy, right? And, there's a lot of things going on in a lot of parts of the world. And, we just have to one day at a time do our best. But I think that if we focus on regulating the nervous system, on getting this trauma out of the body, not just out of the head, right? Because the more we use our heads, the more it still is stuck in our body as a memory. And so I used to explain to people, and I still do, right? I have a new explanation. So if when I had a 5-year-old, he's now 11, and now at 11, he takes his, sticky, dirty hand and he places it on a beautiful glass window, right? He can take the hand away, which is the equivalent of healing the trauma, but there's still going to be an imprint of his handprint on that glass window until I come over and clean it, right? And if I don't clean it, that imprint, right, not as clear glass that you're looking through. And so our traumas are like these handprints all over body, and we never bother to actually clean them completely off. And so we might have taken the trauma out, but the imprint of that trauma is still living in the body, is still firing the nervous system for survival. And so I believe that each of us deserves, right? And it's our birthright, not just even as deserved. That like imagine a planet where people are thriving. There'd be less conflict, right? So it isn't about let's, fight for peace, because fighting for peace doesn't work. But what if we start fighting for our best lives ever? And I don't mean fight, right? But I mean having an energy and where you prioritize being the best version of yourself. You prioritize holding that space for your kids to be the best version of themselves. You prioritize your family members being the best version of themselves. But since, the pandemic, and since social media is so rampant, and TikTok and Instagram and all these things, these reels, the more that we sort of engage in these quick fixes, guess what? Stresses the nervous system out. So that being said, right, once you begin to work with regulating your nervous system, once you begin, and specifically to do somatic exercises. Now, if you're listening, I have a free download on my website, right? Just katherinemcintosh.com. On my website, where you can download this free Healing Your Nervous System, and you'll go see it. I have an old video there, and that video's about a year old. And if you look at it, you'll be like, wow, she doesn't even look like that anymore. No, I look very different now. And I've filmed some new videos. We just haven't yet uploaded them. And so you can go and watch this free nervous system download. It's a 5-minute video. It's the 3 basic exercises that I did for 3 months straight. And I still do them. I don't do them every day anymore, but sometimes I need to, right? Sometimes my body needs that just as much, but I'm watching people as you do these somatic exercises, right? There's hip circles, which helps if you feel like you have excess weight on your butt and your thighs, because the truth is you might be hanging on to trauma. You might be hanging on to emotional or physical or mental abuse. You might be hanging on to resentment or fear, and you might not even know it. And so these exercises are sort of the quickest, calmest way to begin to heal the body and activate the body's ability to heal itself, right? Because when the nervous system is running at its optimum, the amount of space that's left available for you to create instead of fix. Most people are walking around trying to fix, right? How do I fix my broken knee? How do I fix my broken heart? How do I fix my broken marriage? How do I fix my, trauma patterns? How do I fix my money situation? But what if instead of focusing on fixing, because even that approach is coming from a lack perspective. What if we shifted the narrative into, I'm going to open my world into being the best version of myself I can be. I'm going to open my heart into being the best version I can be. I'm going to focus on relaxing and shining my light. I'm going to focus on all of the people and activities that when I do them, I feel more alive. And if we were to begin to shift our focus into committing to doing things, thinking things, creating things that when we're doing them, it's like this magical ride, this magical momentum, most of the traumas in our life would go away. Most of the problems in our body would begin to shift. But when we're fixed based, it doesn't always work as well, because there's a projection there, there's an imprint there, there's a stuckness there, there's also I need to fix it. And so when I, before I became an intuitive consultant full time, right? I actually, after grad school, I became a hairdresser. Never in a million years did I ever imagine myself cutting people's hair, right? But something in me. So after grad school, I bartended for a couple of years. I bartended through grad school and then stayed on as a bartender, server, right? And then after my bartending days, I went into hairdressing, right? And believe me, I did not want to choose to be a hairdresser, but the two professions in which people will confess their entire lives to you. Now, I went to grad school for psychology. People didn't tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. Why? Because they thought they were being judged. But when I was a hairdresser and people weren't liquored up, because bartending's easy, you get liquored, you spill your beans, right? But when I was a hairdresser, I got to like the most intimate details because people didn't think I was a psychologist. They didn't feel judged, right? They felt safe and comfortable to share sort of some of their deepest, darkest secrets, share some of the things that were happening in their lives. And I went, oh my God. And then I started to, ask people questions. I was, in their crown while doing their hair. Right? I was giving them the best head massage you'll ever have in your life. And people just kept coming back and coming back. And they went, wow, what's different about you? Because I feel different every time I come see you. And be like, wow, I'm doing something different. And the point is that when we face our challenges with judgment, right, they change less. When we open ourselves up to no judgment, then that's when things can shift, they can release, they can change. And so I'm going to talk about a few things that you can do besides just the somatic movement. So if you've been listening, go to my website, katherinemcintosh.com, go after the show, or you can do it now, and you can download the somatic movements. It's called Free Download Healing Your Nervous System. It should be at the top of the page on the website, right? Or scroll just a little bit down and you can sort of see it. And so when you do this video is the 3 moves I did every day. And now I add more in, but those 3 moves will get you going, right? And there's a PDF attached to it. We'll kind of talk a little bit about healing your nervous system. So what else can you do besides these somatic movements to heal your nervous system? You can hug a tree. You can get out in nature. You can lay in Shavasana. You can I like to do a particular yoga, but any yoga that calms you down. So it's not like sort of intense flow, right? It's not overly sweating. It's more like, okay, I'm going to sit and breathe and really work on, because when you do that, you begin to relax. When you do that, you begin to open your pineal gland. When you do that, you begin to create a heart and head, right, connection. And so when the heart and the head are on the same page, when they're aligned, guess what? Calm. But when they're not aligned, right, not so calm. And so I used to have a shamanic teacher who passed a few years ago, and he did something called the results course. He also did a relationship course. And I traveled around the world with him for almost 8 years, right, and was one of his assistants and got sort of the ins and outs of this incredible sort of alternative way at looking at everything. And I was fascinated. And so one of the things that he used to say is, if you're going to have a fight with your loved one, do it laying down, right? Why? He said, because you want your head and your heart on the same page. And so when we get in an argument, we go this, or when we're trying to work really hard and figure something out, guess what we're doing? Our heart and our head are not on the same, they're not aligned. So getting your heart aligned, same place, right? And so it's funny because in the beginning, I would do this with my husband back in the day, and we would lay down and try to solve our issues. Well, guess what would happen when someone would get upset? They'd sit up. Right? And so and they'd be like this, heart and head not in alignment. And so you want to really start to pay attention. So it could be yoga. It could be maybe soaking in an Epsom salt bath. It could be lighting candles. It could be pulling tarot cards. Anything that you can do. It could be journaling, right? But journaling from a place of, I have those 5 journaling prompts, right? What am I grateful for? What are my wins? What would I like to let go of, right? What do I want to focus on and energize? And what's my ideal day, right? And that ideal day could be anything. That ideal day could be, I am excited to graduate college. That ideal day could be, I'm packing my car for a road trip, or, getting on a plane to Paris, or hanging out with friends in the mountains, it can be anything. But what happens is you start to dream. And when you start to dream, guess what? You start to relax. Meditation, incredible way to work with the parasympathetic nervous system, working with your vagus nerve. So I'm going to give you guys a little secret, right? A little something, and it's incredible. And so you clasp your hands, right? You put them behind your head on your occiput, which is the bone that sticks out. And if you stay in this position for 2 minutes, you can also do yawning, right? If you do that for 2 minutes, you will lower the cortisol levels in your body by 65%. Cortisol is, guess what? The stress hormone. And so most people that deal with weight on their bodies don't even realize how much stress they have going on in their bodies. When you consistently do things that begin to reduce your stress, begin to reduce the cortisol levels in your body, you will literally change your life. And so anything that gets you calm, walking out in nature, right? Jumping in a lake, going on a hike, picking flowers, putting flowers in your house, hugging a tree, putting your feet in the ground. I have a labyrinth in my backyard, and walking that labyrinth helps, right? Getting sunshine on my face. But here's the deal, is I think that we need to, as a culture, instead of focusing on food and exercise, right? I think we need to focus on, are we willing to lower our stress responses? Are we willing to lower our cortisol? Are we willing to get our heart and head in alignment? Are we willing to find ways to calm? Sound baths, right? Sounds, even listening. A woman that I recently had the pleasure of meeting, who I think is going to be a friend and a client, she shared these solfeggio frequencies, right? These healing sound frequencies. Anything that you can do to begin to find that alignment is going to help your nervous system release the imprinting of all the things that have been stuck in your world. And so, you know what? Don't take my advice. I always tell people, filter it through your own, awareness. Does it expand your energy when you look at it? Does it contract your energy? And if you're willing to really play with, okay, what are all the ways I can expand my energy? Oh, that makes me feel good. That doesn't. Oh, that person totally energizes me. That person does not. And start to pay attention, because guess what? You only got one life, and you might as well make it the best life you possibly can, and stop trying to work so hard just to survive. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If this tickled you, if it touched you, if you think there's someone in your life that needs to hear this message, please share it anywhere that you find it. You can follow us right? You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Catherine McIntosh. And I look forward to watching you grow, to watching your journey. Don't forget to download the free download, and I'll see you all on the other side. Thanks for watching. Until next time.
Catherine is not a medical practitioner nor a licensed therapist. She has strong opinions and will express them, and truly believes that you are your best advocate for any and every area of your life. If you need medical advice, please consult your physician.